A subdivider comes into the city of Washougal and they submit construction plans to put in their streets and water and sewer. This is what this person would do, is they're going to review those plans to be sure that they comply with the adopted Washougal engineering standards. When their bill comes in, I turn around and invoice the developer for that exact amount. And so most of the time it's very revenue neutral. But we do have a $100,000 budget. I share that with Public Works, so the maximum would be $50,000. I can tell you last year, I spent nowhere near that 50. So there's no anticipation of spending the $50,000. It's just I wanted to put that in there as 50% of the approved budget. Yes.
Name a project that we've done in the last 5 or 10 years that you could eat up $50,000. What type of a project would we have?
I think we would have to have a huge commercial project, and I think that wouldn't even do it. I think it would have to be multiple projects. For instance, last year we had Best Western, and we had, I'm not sure, was Washougal Crossing last year? And Washougal Crossing, and I think for the total of the year I spent $36,000. So it's very unlikely that we would have one project that would eat up that. It would be multiple. And if we have multiple projects coming in, that's a very good thing because we're getting one-time construction revenue. Then hopefully they're retail and we're getting the ongoing real estate tax revenue. So,
Joanne, with our budget this tight as it is, then if you didn't think you were going to use your 50 or the 100,000 that's budgeted, why did we not do 60,000 instead of 100?
Well, it was I calculated 5 projects, hoping we get 5 projects, and we share the budget, so I just assumed that 50% of it was mine. I don't know how Trevor came up with his 50%.
Because I always look at this as, I'll use Garwood as the example. We had a homicide. Well, why don't we put 15,000 every year in case, because when that happens, we can't even begin to
Well, this is
cover
less
that.
than I had requested years past. At one time it was 200,000. The time before that I asked for 150, and now this time we're asking for 100. So it's been progressively going down, and I can't tell you how much of this fund was actually given back to the general fund at the end of the year, but my department did give back $200,000 that it did not spend, yet was approved to be spent in the budget.
Are the types of engineering that we're doing between your departments sufficiently different and diverse that it would not pay us to hire a professional engineer because one engineer wouldn't have all the expertise we needed?
I'll let Mr. Halverson address that, if he doesn't mind.
I don't mind at all. We've had a number of projects, not just the ones before you this evening, but major projects such as E Street and the tunnel and their water sewer projects and so on. And we have spent and are spending very substantial amounts of money on engineering through a contract with Wallace. And I'm trying to be very analytical about that, involve other staff members, look at alternatives, have those alternatives vetted by people in other similar organizations, so maybe we have a good, well thought through proposal about a portion of the engineering that is not directly related to this water reservoir or that street project that we might consider bringing, so to speak, in-house. And the key to this proposal, if it works, is that it should not further burden the general fund. It's just a little early to give you a full report on that, other than to say that has attracted attention, and we're really giving attention to that within this 7-week period. More later.
Are there people out there that would cover 80% of what we do here that with one individual? I mean, is that a possibility? Are they out there?
I'm afraid to answer the percentage.
Yeah, that
but
might
they
be a
are
little
multiple areas of expertise. I mean, I'm sure that the civil engineer, it cannot be a transportation engineer.
'Cause that's
This is all thought-provoking, and you might think of it as a tease. Let this come back as a package that's very well-staffed and then very well discussed by you with real focus and attention to it.
I think what I heard you just say was you're ahead of me on this.
Don't know about that, but they're working on it.
Yeah.
Nice
I
going.
just want to throw that in. I mean, what was your figure, 80%? Who was asking?
I just said, can we get one guy that can do 80% of what we send out for engineering?
Right, right. And I actually had RJ send over the figures of what we paid Wallace Engineering in total last year, and it was over $1 million, like 1.2, 1.3, something like that.
Yeah,
I
I have to
don't-
go back
I
and
have
pull
the
it. I think it's
paperwork
more
right
than
there.
that, because when
Yeah.
you add the East Street and you add the tunnel,
It was more.
2.2.
It was
2 point
2.2.
something, yeah.
Well, even.
And then you've got three major projects that we
Right.
do use your services for: East Street, the tunnel, and then the Zone 4 reservoir, the big
Yeah.
trench across the river. So that was a large portion of it, but.
Right.
I'd love to see that scope of work and see what's available out there with the market the way it is today.
Your staff is working on this one.
That'd be great.
That's great. Good to know.
As a team, they are working on this.
Other questions on this one for this PSA? Okay. Joanne, we're moving right along. We are done with you, but there's another PSA.
That one's mine.
Fire away.
All right. The agreement that I have is with an auditor that we've used in the past to help prepare our financial statements that we send up to the state auditor's office. Her name is Teresa Johnson. We used her services for the last few years, and what I'm requesting is to use her services again to prepare our 2009 financial statements, to submit those auditors. One of the things I would also like to add, and I just got an updated agreement with East Street coming on, since that is such a large project and has 5 grant sources. I'd like to use not more than 5 hours extra of her time to help prepare a schedule to be able to track each of those grants specifically. She's worked with the state auditor's office in the past, now she works for herself, so she can help me prepare to track those expenditures and costs. And I can get that out in that revision out in the next set that we send out on Wednesday. But even with that revision, it's not to exceed more than $4,000, which we still have in our budget for finance. Any questions?
I didn't hear, what was the cost of this agreement?
With the adding additional for help with the East Street project, not to exceed $4,280.
What are the qualifications of Ms. Johnson to do this type of work?
She's a CPA. She's worked independently since, at least for I know, for at least 5 years.
You got me at the CPA.
Okay. And she's worked with the state auditor's office, so she's
Has
well known
anybody,
there.
oh, that's good too. Has anybody ever put this thing out to bid?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay, how did we initially connect with her?
I honestly don't know that, other than I know she's worked on her audits before when she was working with the auditor's office, and she had a relationship of friendship with Becky before that. Becky Hazard was the finance director before that.
Thank you.
So the agreement itself actually has several